Hey, Paul here, and in this video we're going to talk about how a revocable living trust played out for real when a spouse died. Okay, so I've actually been away from YouTube after doing daily videos for about 4 months. I guess 100 and something videos every single day. I took a break for several days, and I gotta tell you, in some kind of weird way, it's good to be back. And I think it's because I announced I was gonna take a break, and a whole bunch of people out there really said some nice things in the comments about how, they liked the videos, appreciated them, or whatever. And kind of confirmed that in this negative world that we have, there's a lot of really good people out there. So it's good to be back, and I'll be back on a somewhat regular basis whenever I feel like I have something that's valuable to share. So I do want to talk about kind of an experience I've been going through the last few days where, here in estate planning, the difficult thing is, I work with our clients to put these programs in place, and then we never really know if things are going to work as planned until maybe, years or sometimes decades later. So when I do see it work out as planned and things go just right for the family, I get so excited that I've got to kind of share it with people. So here's a situation where really not too long ago, just a couple of years ago, I helped a family establish this revocable living trust program. One of their goals was they wanted to keep out of the court process and make things easy for their family. Great family, met the whole family. And really the husband was meticulous, and he had been successful, and he had accumulated more than most. And unfortunately, about less than 2 weeks ago, he died suddenly, unexpectedly. And so I get a call about a little over a week after the gentleman passed away from one of his children. And so we started going through things, and the son is in the investments business, so he's knowledgeable about investments and accounts and all that kind of thing. And the parents had retitled their investment accounts in their trust, and of course we did all the paperwork to retitle their real estate that they owned in their trust. So I got on the phone with the son, and the son was, he's asking me, Paul, do we need to retitle any of the investment accounts? I said, nope. Paul, do we need to do anything about my parents' real estate? Do we need to retitle anything? I said, nope. Your mother is now the trustee, and nothing in the trust is going to be frozen. She can continue accessing things. She really doesn't even need to come into the office. So, I think mom wants to sell one of the pieces of real estate, so she could do it tomorrow if she wanted to. Things are in that couple's trust, and she's the trustee. Now that he died, they were co-trustees. Now she's the sole trustee, so she can sell trust assets without any difficulty. And then we started talking a little bit about the tax consequences, about how since everything in their trust, we're in Louisiana, client was in Louisiana, Louisiana's a community property state, everything in the trust was community property, so everything in the trust gets a step up in basis. And there was some assets in the trust that were highly appreciated, so all that appreciation will go away untaxed. Now, there is going to be a probate required, and in many living trust circumstances, the goal is to completely eliminate probate. But in this instance, the husband owned an asset that when we set all of this up, the husband's intention was to sell that asset in the very near future. So he kept it in his name, and then he died unexpectedly just prior to being able to sell it. So now we do have to do the probate, but that asset is really the only probate asset, the only asset that we will have to list in the probate. So it makes the probate much easier. So yesterday was Thursday when I had the conversation with the family over the telephone. Today, all of the probate pleadings are prepared. It's really just that one asset. All those have been forwarded by email to the family for their review. Family's saying it's perfect. Just so happens that the son has a notary in his office, so he and his mother will sign the appropriate court pleadings, get those to us. They'll be off to the courthouse next week to get those court orders signed, where a judge will order that particular asset be transferred to the trust, and then the mom will be able to sell that asset as the trustee of the trust. So the fact that not 100% of everything that they had was in their trust, but most of it was, makes the settling of things, much, much easier. We'll use that pour over will that he had signed when he set up his trust. Tell you what, I'll give you a link up there to what a pour over will is all about. And we'll use that to get that one asset transferred into their trust that was not in their trust when they died. And then there was the tax conversation, because they had, more than most. They had a few $1 million of assets. And here's also where it gets good, because everything they have gets a step up in basis when the first spouse dies, when you have community property. And their trust is set up so that, she's in complete control of everything. And so when she dies, the entire trust and all of the assets in the trust will get another step up in basis. We call that the double step up in basis. And then there was a conversation about the estate tax. And that surviving wife is fairly young. I think she's 68 or 69. She could live another 20 years. And right now there's no estate tax concerns. $11.58 million is exempt from the 40% estate tax, but scheduled to come back, and the estate tax exemption will be somewhere around $6 million starting on January 1st, 2026. It gets adjusted for inflation, but it'll be somewhere around $6 million. It's going to be cut in half. So we talked about with the family how the husband, because he had an estate that was well under $11.58 million, and because he left everything to his wife through his trust, and he took advantage of what's called the marital deduction, he's not using any of his $11.58 million exemption. So if we file a return, which it isn't required that we file an estate tax return called Form 706, and we do that timely within 9 months of his death, and we elect what's called the portability election. I'll link you to another video about the portability election and how important it is for families to consider that when the first spouse dies. Then when that surviving wife dies, she'll have her estate tax exemption amount, currently $11.58 million, going to come back to $6 million. Who knows what it'll be when she passes away, perhaps 20 years from now, more or less. But she'll have her exclusion amount, plus she'll also have his $11.58 million exemption on top of hers. So like I was telling the family, if when she dies, her exemption is $6 million, she'll have $17.58 million that she will be able to shield from the 40% estate tax. So all that put together means that things can and do go right with a combination of putting the right program in place while a couple or an individual is alive and well. And then when one spouse passes away, if it's a married couple, making the right post-death moves so that not only is it simple when the first spouse dies, but everything stays in the family when the surviving spouse passes away. So it was great to see that. It's kind of what gets me up every morning to go to work, to try to help families arrange things so that they do keep it in the family. And so I look forward to sharing other experiences with you as well. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any stuff that I do in the future. And we will see you next time.